Welcome back. Now, President Bola Tinubu has issued a ban on the importation of foreign goods by ministries, departments, and agencies on goods or services available in the country without a waiver from the Bureau of Public Procurement. The new policy, dubbed the Renewed Hope Nigeria First policy, aims at strengthening the domestic economy, promoting local content, and reducing Nigeria's dependence on imports. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who revealed this at the last Federal Executive Council meeting, says the policy targeted at prioritizing the use of local goods and services will create more jobs and help boost the economy if properly implemented by all tiers of government. Take a listen to him.
Proposal by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on what he calls the Renewed Hope Nigeria First policy, meaning that Nigeria is going to be at the center going forward of all business activities relating to this country. If there are any businesses to be done by anybody, the priority will be Nigerian first. If you have any local content, there is no reason for you to go outside this country to import. Now, this is in the form of an executive bill that will soon be issued by Mr. President. Already, Council has approved a set of those proposals, which I'm going to read to you, and the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation has been directed to prepare an executive order to be issued by Mr. President.
Now, the Nigeria First policy is built around optimizing local production, reducing the pressure on foreign exchange, and attracting investments that will strengthen the country's economic base. The minister further assured that Nigerian industries will now be prioritized in procurement decisions, and in cases where local suppliers fall short, contracts will be structured to build domestic capacity instead of depending on intermediaries who make profits at the expense of local manufacturers. Well, joining me now to discuss this further is economist and the CEO of Timeline Consult Limited, Shaibu Idris. He joins us from Lagos. Thank you very much for coming on the program. How important is this policy? What's your take on it?
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. Thank God today is Friday. Number one, I think in general, I will say it's a laudable thinking, laudable attempt, laudable steps in the right direction, trying to, to patronize made in Nigeria goods. When you look at it on a straight line basis. Is this the first time that Nigeria is having this policy? The answer is no. During the military dispensation as far back as 1976, 77, and post-Shehu Shagari era, Nigerian government under the military, gave directives that cars that are assembled in Nigeria are the only cars that were allowed to be bought by civil servants, either if they are taking loans or if the government is buying them as what we call the tools of trade, meaning for official assignment. Very few individuals or civil servants, for example, the then Mr. President or head of state was allowed, for example, to use a Mercedes-Benz other than a Peugeot or a Volkswagen made in Nigeria car or Steyr, or the cars made from Leyland. So going back to what we used to have 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I think it's a step in the right direction. However, the snag with the current policy is you ask yourself, do we have a car assembly plant in Nigeria? The last time I checked is no.
But we have car company. I mean, we have car manufacturing companies like Innocent, and there are quite a number of them that are coming up now.
No, you are saying they are coming up. I'm saying I have not known of any assembly plant. The manufacturing plant in the eastern part of the country by the gentleman who makes the Innocent cars is a laudable initiative that must be supported at all cost. I give you an example. When the members of the National Assembly were bought Prado Jeep or Toyota Highlander as official cars, some of us did come out vociferously to say, why should we be taking money outside the country? Why should we be giving employment to Japanese instead of giving employment to Nigerians? When Mr. President decided to buy a brand new casket bulletproof car, why did he buy, a Japanese car or a German-made car instead of a Nigerian car when he could have gotten it custom built by, innocent? So the point I'm trying to make is when you limit the conversation to car assembly or cars as in tool of trade, you will say there are none or even there are few. However, you fast forward, what are the things that government buy today? Why are they being bought outside the country? Let's look at buildings. If you are compelled to buy cement in Nigeria, in any case, no one is allowed to import cement. The processes of getting a license to import cement, you will be worse off if you import the cement. So we have it in abundance so you can buy locally. But what are the other concomitant features of construction, sites? Metals, iron that you use, iron rod. Do we have a manufacturing plant in Nigeria that can produce iron rod? No, we don't have. You look at the basic foods, milk. Today, if you want to buy powdered milk, if you want to buy even tissue paper, you want to buy toothpick, tell me which factory you can go to buy toothpick or powdered milk or some of these items. Now, the fact that, a window for people to take advantage of the policy was open, it makes also the policy a bit counterproductive. Instead of saying one needs to get a waiver from the Bureau for Public Procurement.
But let's not forget, this is for government agencies, ministries and departments.
I agree, but who is the largest buyer? Who is the largest buyer of these items? It's government. We will have 350 something members of the House of Representatives, another 109 members of the Senate, totaling 500 or thereabout, or 400 and something. That is 400 cars. Which organization? Is it MTN, Aradel, Shell, or Dangote that can buy 400 brand new Jeeps? Hell no, they won't be able to buy. It's not that they don't have the money, but they don't have the need. And if they have the need, they are efficiently run, managed organizations, so they wouldn't do that. So the point we are making is, of course, the policy was made to guide government. Even the government, not all governments.
Yes, I was going to ask you that does this apply to state governments? Because, look, this is obviously for federal government agencies.
Of course, no. It's not applicable to state or local government.
So don't you think state governments too should probably key into this and make their own pronouncements along this line?
Well, unfortunately, the hands of Mr. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Jagaba, is tied, or they are tied, because he can only cajole and appeal to state governors to key into this policy. Because we are running this democracy, federalism, or the kind of state being independent of the center, when notwithstanding the fact that it is the center that feed the state and give them monies, but I give you money, but I don't have the right to take money. This amorphous kind of arrangement that we have is an issue. So Bola Ahmed Tinubu may have a valid and good policy, but the implementation can only be limited to the federal government agencies, ministries, and department, as the case may be.
But let me ask you this: what impact do you expect this to have for local industries? I'm talking about local industries in the country.
Well, like I did say, in the short run, I don't see much of impact other than propaganda and noise, because most companies are closed down. The last count, in the last 18 months, not less than 5,000 companies, small, medium, and large enterprises have closed down. So who is producing, and what are they producing? Are we looking at producers of sugar? Or are we looking at producers of flour? Even them, they import bulk sugar, they import wheat to process. So what are we talking about import? You want to do even sandals. How many people are producing even sandals or shoes if government were to be buying, say, school shoes, uniforms for students? Where are the textile companies? So when you say go to Bureau for public procurement to get a waiver, it's a window of opportunity for quite a number of civil servants to mint and lace their pockets with illicit wealth arising from coming to require, one form of import waiver or another. So we are technically going back to import licensing days if care is not taken.
But then, as I said the other time, this is obviously for federal government agencies. I mean, it doesn't stop private citizens, for instance, from importing anyway, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't. What we are saying is, look, you need to dimension the Nigerian economy. Who is the largest employer of labor in Nigeria today? It's the government. Who is the largest spender? It's the government. So yes, the policy is targeting our government. So when I do a policy that is targeting 60-70% of the economic, players, then I may as well make it for 100. So the 5-10% that are fringe players, they may buy as they wish. I don't have to oblige that, but I'm patriotic. I'm nationalistic. Quite a number of times you see me dressed in fabrics made in Nigeria because that is what I choose. This is by choice. And that is my patriotism, my way of showing that, yes, I believe in Nigeria and I'm a Nigerian and I so want to be a Nigerian that will see the country do better at any point in time.
So going forward with this policy, over the next year or two, we should expect that, all government procurements, especially that has to do with, especially cars, for instance. We shouldn't be seeing, new cars being bought by the government now to be foreign cars. I mean, but then another question I have to ask you. If this policy was to be implemented very faithfully, it's a good policy, there's no doubt, just as you have said, would our local manufacturers be able to meet the demand that might spring up from this?
Well, let's dimension it this way. It's an excellent policy, and it's a policy that can be an attraction, a basis to attract investors to come into the country and set up factories and industries to meet this demand. It's also a good policy that could incentivize Nigerians that have resources to set up factories, because then they know that there is a ready market. No one will produce any item when and where there are no buyers. So it's a good policy that could spur this, but the government should go a step further by making sure that this policy is implemented to the latter, and not just that, but other incentives that manufacturers, industrialists, investors will be requiring so that they can come into Nigeria and set up factories so that our children can get employment and poverty can be reduced, insecurity will then be significantly reduced or even disappear. You know, the chain of reaction and the interwoven relationship of the factors or the variables.
So Shaibu Idris, thank you very much for coming on the program, and thanks a lot for your insights.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us, don't go away. Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal. How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI 360, We give you a complete dose of everything: opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI 360, dissecting the issues. All right, welcome back. Let's continue the conversation now on the Nigerian First policy. I'm now being joined on the program by a former chairperson, that's chairman now, of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Papa Branch, Frank Onyebu, who is also a National Council member of MAN, as well as a director in manufacturing companies here in Lagos. Thank you very much for coming on the program. As a manufacturer, give me your take on this Nigeria First policy that the president just unveiled.
I must say I'm upbeat. As a matter of fact, most manufacturers are upbeat at this initiative. Well, I must say it's a very good initiative of government, and it's long overdue. It's one of the best news we've heard in a long time, and we've actually been clamoring for it. This should not only encourage government agencies, but also the ordinary Nigerian, because if you see that the government is using made in Nigerian products, if you see that the government is patronizing made in Nigerian products, then the ordinary man would want to emulate that. But when the government is importing everything foreign, to the neglect of local manufacturers, of course, the ordinary Nigerians will do the same. So we are happy, we are upbeat, as a matter of fact. You can see what I'm wearing now is a Nigerian-made product, and we have a lot of clothes out there that are foreign. But we should patronize our own products. This is the right thing to do, and I'm very happy about that.
But another question to ask would be, would local manufacturers have the capacity to meet the demand that we expect to come out of this? Because, you know, you would expect that the demand would be high, and there's always been that question about the capacity of our manufacturers to actually meet local demand.
Yeah, certainly. The problem with manufacturing is not the capacity. We have a lot of capacity. The problem is that the environment has not been very friendly. A lot of manufacturers have actually packed up and moved to neighboring countries. If the government makes the environment friendly, and this is one of the ways to make it friendly, but there are also other ways. We need to have a way of encouraging people to go into manufacturing. Manufacturing is the backbone of any economy all over the world. And if we reduce some of the problems that have been causing manufacturers to leave, and will make the environment more friendly, more people will come. There are actually a lot of people out there that want to come into Nigeria, even foreigners. And once we make our environment conducive, I can assure you there is no capacity that is beyond the Nigerian manufacturer. There are lots of people who want to do business. And the businesses that are open are just, most people just go into buying and selling, importing things from abroad. But by the time the environment is good, there are so many warehouses that are empty. There are lots of people who want to manufacture. And even the existing ones that are producing are sometimes less than half the capacity. We increase their capacity. All it takes is for the government to make this environment very conducive. And I must say, one of the ways is to patronize made in Nigerian products. So, yes, to your question, I say yes, we have the capacity.
So tell me now, just give us a vivid picture of what this policy would do for, say, a typical local manufacturing outfit in this country.
Yeah, when this policy is, because we always talk about policy, the other one is implementation. If we genuinely want to implement this policy, the effect is that people who have been having issues with actually selling their product, because a lot of manufacturers are producing and storing in warehouses. And the economy itself has not been very good. the demand is not been very good. So people are producing at less than their capacity. If we have a situation where the demand is there, the effect is that a lot of people who are currently manufacture at full capacity. Then people who are out there waiting to see what this economy will look like would like to join. There are lots of friends we have who are in China who want to come into Nigeria. But when we look at this, when they look at the situation here, they actually try to go elsewhere. I can assure you that Nigeria can be another China if we get the right policies in place. So the effect to us that are already there is to expand, and for people who are out there waiting to come in and actually make use of the space that we have there in Nigeria.
Now, I know state governments are not part of this policy. I mean, this policy applies to the federal government. But are you worried that state governments are not part of it? Is this something that you would like to see state governments also make their own pronouncement on this, along this line?
Yeah, certainly. We would like the state government to come in as well. But this federal government starting is a very good one, because when the federal government leads, the states will surely follow. I think everybody recognizes the right thing to do. But unfortunately, the leaders, which is the federal government, has not been showing that much interest. When the federal government shows the interest, it's a natural thing. The state governments will follow, and then the average Nigerian will also follow. There are lots of industries that will also patronize each other. There are lots of businesses in Nigeria that will also want to embrace this. And if the federal government is showing that leadership, I believe the state governments will also follow, the local governments will follow, and then the ordinary Nigerians will also follow. But we're happy about this start. It's actually a start, and it's the right direction to go. And I believe that if this is sustained, like I said earlier, the implementation is usually the problem. A lot of times the federal government makes pronouncements, even the state governments make pronouncements, and the people who are to implement it put a stop somewhere along the line. So I hope that this will be implemented to the letter, and then it's a natural thing. Others will follow.
That's the hope of everyone else. I mean, it's no doubt a very good policy. Implementation, of course, no doubt very key. Mr. Frank Onyebo, thank you very much for coming on the program. Thanks a lot for your time, sir. All right, that's how much we can take on the program this week. But thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.